Yep. Ready? Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the McLeod County Board of Commissioners meeting today on December 19th. Can we start with, please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin our order of events today with employee recognition. Hannah.
Good morning. This is always a fun way to start our board meetings, is to take some time to recognize some significant years of service and leadership here at the county. If I have Ron Pepping join me here at the front. Ron is retiring after almost 21 years of being with our sheriff's posse. And for those who don't know, the posse serves our community, a lot of community events, showing up and supporting our deputies and our sheriff's office, kind of being on the scene. And specifically, Ron has been the posse captain for almost 9 years. Again, he's been with us for 21 years of the county, which is a pretty significant amount of years. And we're really grateful for his dedication, his service and leadership. And with that, could we just give Ron a round of applause? I always offer, for those that are retiring, if they'd like to share any like a favorite kind of memory or something they've appreciated about their role here at the county. Ron, is there any words you'd like to share before we grab a photo with the board?
I would just like to thank the county for allowing me this opportunity to work for the sheriff's posse. We've been living in Hutchinson for a little over 20 years, 25 years about, and to have this opportunity I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the past 21 years working here. I'm going to miss it, but I'm also not going to miss it. So I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Ron, I'm going to present you with, we give everybody just a recognition of their years of service. This is for you. We hope you hang it somewhere you like, maybe, or put it on something you like. And we'll have you head on to the back with both the sheriff and chief deputy will join us and the board to take a quick photo. Thank you so much.
I got it. I can give it.
Yeah, you're in the middle.
Right here, guys. Yeah, there you go, Nathan. Thank you. Smile. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Good name tag down.
Yeah.
This one sits better.
Okay, moving into our rest of our agenda, the first thing we will do is to approve our agenda for today. I believe we do have one change. Administrator?
Mr. Chair, one
Sorry.
change from me. I did have an item for a closed meeting session regarding an annual review. I am asking that we push that preferably to a January meeting. I'm conducting a slightly different process than past years, and we're just working on making the final, compiling the data there. So a little more time would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, removing the closed meeting for today. Any other changes to or additions to today's agenda?
No other changes, Mr. Chair?
Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move, Mr. Chair, with the change noted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Schmal, second by Luthens to approve today's agenda items with the change. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Nagel, second by Kruger to approve today's consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 will be jail.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. I'm here today to get approval of a quote with Concrete Science to repair and resurface floors within the jail for a total price of $32,839.60. These floors are part of the renovation that we did a few years back, and they're not holding up at all, so they need to be redone, resurfaced. The current finish is chipping, flaking, leaving bare concrete, becoming more slippery. I did also receive 2 other quotes. The one quote was for $22,000 something. The reason we're going with $32,000 is because Concrete Science provides a warranty, which is great to have. Also, they're doing a speed cove or some trim, which will save us costs, because with that $22,000, we still would have had it done a little bit of trim work extra. Also with the Concrete Science, it's probably going to be a little less than that $32,000, because they did quote for $2,700 for after-hours work if we need to do them after hours, which we won't need to do. We'll be able to accommodate normal business hours. So for those reasons, that's why we went with Concrete Science.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'm confident in what you're telling us, Will. Ryan, is that okay to take the higher bid?
Yes, I have no concern here.
I'd move to approve. Second.
Motion by Kruger, second by Nagel to approve the quote from Concrete Science for $32,839.60. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 5.
Good morning again.
Morning.
2 items for you this morning. Item A is considering adopting Resolution 23CB57, authorizing human resources to fill vacant positions in 2024. This is an annual authorization. All vacant positions are evaluated alongside the department head and then brought to the Personnel Committee for final review, recommendation before replacing.
Move to approve.
I'll second it. Whichever, it don't matter.
Second by Schmaltz. Motion by Nagel, second by Schmaltz to consider adopting Resolution 23CB57. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is consider adopting the Earned Safe and Sick Time, or ESST policy, to the McLeod County Personnel Policy. Minnesota's ESST law goes in effect starting January 1st of 2024. This law does affect all Minnesota employers, but it was really emphasized or focused on employers that do not currently offer paid sick leave. McLeod County does have a generous paid sick leave policy and will be compliant when this law takes effect. The biggest impact for us at the county is really for those that are already accruing sick leave. They will continue to accrue sick leave as they are. But the law does include folks like temporary positions, seasonal positions. Anyone who's working less than 14 hours at the county currently does not accrue any sort of leave. So starting in January, they will start accruing 1 hour of what is called ESST or sick leave for every 30 hours that they work. And this is per the requirements of this new law. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them for you.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Kruger to consider adopting the ESST policy for McLeod County Personnel Policy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
See you too. So yes, we do have to wait until 9:15 for a public hearing. Yep, Andrew, are you ready? Can you go?
Good morning. Asking the board to consider approving an estimate from Core River Glass to install 2 new doors in the McLeod County Fairgrounds Agribitia building at a total cost of $9,950 with funds from the Fairgrounds capital repair budget. As part of ongoing improvements at the fairgrounds, we are planning to replace 4 exterior doors on that building, 2 this year and 2 next year. And we did receive another estimate from Shower & Sons Construction in the amount of $56.23 per door, and the expense was included in this year's budget.
Okay, questions, anyone? We have a motion, is there a second? I can second that. We have a motion by Nagel, second by Wright, approving the estimate from Crow River Glass at a cost of $9,950. This repair was brought up at our Fair Commission meeting, and as well as many other repairs needed on buildings. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Do you want me to go to the next one?
Go ahead, yes.
All right. Item B, consider adopting the McLeod County Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan. In August of '23, EAB was found in central McLeod County, and it was identified as having a general infestation and was placed in quarantine to prevent further spread. So we did develop this plan, which focuses on trees within the county right-of-way, as well as property owned by McLeod County, so this does not affect any private property. The goal of the plan is to address EAB infestation through public education, inspection, strategic management, and implementing proactive and reactive management practices. So ultimately, we'll put together a list of ash trees within areas of concern, so areas where poses safety risks on McLeod County property or within right-of-way, and then kind of do a reactive, if trees are looking like they need to be taken down, take those down, and possibly if it's a tree that we consider a valuable tree that we would want to save, we might do treatment, otherwise remove and replace as funds allow.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
I will move the McLeod County Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Nagel. Motion by Schmal, second by Nagel to consider adopting the McLeod County Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Is this some of this coming from the state? I mean, is this, I don't want to say mandated, but it recommended from the state to go into this program? And if so, is there going to be some funding?
Not that I'm aware of, as far as funding goes. I know since we were placed under quarantine, I think there's been another 4 counties that have as well, so it's definitely progressing. But there's no mandate that we have to have a plan. We just figured it would be a best practice to have something in place so that we can at least manage our trees, especially with the county parks, near campsites and stuff like that, to make sure that we're handling that properly.
And I don't disagree that there's an issue. I mean, but it's ongoing, and there's probably going to be another disease coming to the trees. I'm just wondering what the long-range plan is from the state, because what's the option if we don't do anything?
Commissioner Kruger, Mr. Chair. Really, we aren't forced to go into put together a plan. The plan was for us, is for us to manage liability and safety on public property.
Yeah.
That's why we put this plan together, so that we have a guideline to move forward on how we're going to manage this situation. There are no mandates regarding tree removal in that regard, removing infested trees at this point. But this is our way of approaching a best management practice for, again, liability and safety on county property.
And I would agree with, the safety, you're going to die or whatever, so sooner or later they have to come out, so it's better to be a little proactive. Just wondering if funding was going to follow on some of this, because it's going to be, obviously, I don't want to say catastrophic, but it's going to go across the state.
Yep, at this point, I don't know of any funding available, but there are always grant opportunities for park improvements
Okay,
and
thank
that
you.
type of thing.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Item C.
Just briefly, I did want to mention McLeod County, or sorry, University of Minnesota Extension is holding an Emerald Ash Borer workshop. It's free in-person workshop on Tuesday, January 30th at the fairgrounds from 10:30 to 1:30, and there will be a free lunch provided. If you wanted to register, you can call 763-682-7394 to join that. So it's open to students that want to learn more about it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, so as noted at a previous workshop, we have completed a draft of the McLeod County Parks Plan. This is an opportunity to present the plan to the public. So just going to go through and provide a summary of the plan and then talk about the purpose of the plan and what it all entails. So the plan contains an overview, a look at the current park system, what the planning process was like, the 6 different park summaries and opportunities at each park, the implementation guide, and then also potential funding resources. So a vision statement for the plan is to provide citizens, visitors with room to explore nature by investing in the future, honoring the past, and preserving resources for recreation and growth. The plan overview section looks at introduction that explains that the plan is a guide for the short and long-term improvements in the parks, and then also outlines the process for completing the plan. I mentioned the vision statement earlier. There are 5 value statements within the plan that also help to support that vision statement. They pertain to fostering health and well-being, preserving natural resource areas, providing recreational activities, and ensuring those recreational activities are affordable and accessible, and then also fostering integration of regional, local, state, and federal parks, trails, and conservation lands. Then it looks at focusing on the health and environmental benefits of having parks and trails within the county, and then finally looks at the social importance and quality of life aspects, so promoting equity, providing reduction in crime, and then also kind of explains how businesses can use the amenities of the parks and trails for employee attraction. The next section looks at the current park system, so the 6 different county parks, what they all currently offer, and just kind of laying that base for the next section. So the planning process, the county enlisted the services of Mid-Minnesota Development Commission, as well as county staff to prepare the plan. MMDC is a regional development commission that focuses on economic development and community development within Candiota, McLeod, Meeker, and Renville counties. A task force was made up of district representatives, county staff, and commissioners. That task force toured the parks, met to discuss improvements as well as current deficiencies, and helped to guide the plan. A survey was conducted from July 22nd, 2022 to September 10th, 2022, where over 500 participants took the survey. Questions such as what participants liked about the parks, what they thought could be improved, and then there were some camping-specific questions relating to the 2 campgrounds located within county parks. There was also an open house held at the McLeod County Fair in 2022, where it gave fairgoers, residents, another opportunity to voice their concerns or likes, dislikes about the parks. So then all that input was taken and helped develop the opportunities for improvement that we'll go through in a little bit here. So the park summaries and opportunities section gives a brief background about each park, some useful information, as well as a map, and then it identifies the numerous improvement opportunities for each specific park. So, you know, it ranges from signage, restrooms, maintenance, campground upgrades, playground equipment, different recreational opportunities. And, you know, and some of these are very park specific, and some of them, you know, span across all the parks. So each section really focuses on each park and what offers suggestions for improvements and opportunities to add to each park. Then this section on plan implementation focuses on all the different aspects that were in each park and kind of compiles them all into one section. Just to note that, you know, The implementation of the plan will depend on different funding opportunities, and priorities may shift as those opportunities are realized. It also states that we should focus on kind of preserving each park's identity. Each park is unique in its own way, and the improvements should coincide with that. A grid was created to help visualize the different priorities and opportunities for implementation. It has a time frame, and while that time frame may seem aggressive with, all the different opportunities, just to note that, the ones and the twos and threes, those are suggestions. It doesn't mean that everything with a one is going to get done in the first 1 to 3 years. It's just those opportunities are maybe a little more easily realized and, don't cost as much money, so it could be implemented in the first few years, but obviously depending on priorities, that could shift. It also gives a really general idea of the cost range, so ranging from something not very significant to something that could take multiple years to accomplish. And then also focuses on the impact of the improvement, so looking at park enjoyment, accessibility, maintenance, safety, visibility, and then ultimately economic development and tourism. The task force identified first focus areas to help kick off the implementation of the plan. So first, for the task force, they felt safety was very important and a priority for park goers. Repairing and saving on top of routine maintenance and implementing items that reduce regular maintenance, such as mowing areas. Sanitary and up-to-date restrooms were considered a necessity in all the parks, and that park goers should have access to clean drinking water in every park. And finally, signage throughout the park should be updated and visually appealing, uniform, and assist park goers with wayfinding within the park. And then finally, the plan looks at potential funding resources. So these sources are aside from taxes. So what other opportunities would we have to help fund some of these implementation priorities? First is grant opportunities. It does list a number of grant opportunities, just a few of them: outdoor recreation grant, parks and trails legacy grant, as well as local community foundation grants. Then it looks at private donations, and this can be monetary as well as time, so volunteerism, so using some of those local groups to help with items at the park and not only relying on county staff time. And then finally, looking at the possibility of corporate sponsorships. It's a potential, and that this could help with larger projects, but that it should be considered on an individual project basis, and likely one of the last areas that we would look for maybe funding one of those projects. So just to kind of reiterate, the parks plan is going to be used over the short and long-term planning and development of each park. It will be used to assist capital improvement decisions and enhance the unique characteristics of each park. Is there any questions or comments on the plan?
I can just say, serving on the committee, there was a lot of public input here, a lot of efforts, even with the open house at the fair when this all started. And so there's the data set seemed to be really complete, and the committee did a great job of tossing ideas around. And I'm not necessarily a big heavy park user myself, but we did have people there that had a lot of park time in different parks and brought forth some different opinions on how to improve and some different aspects how to use them. And I feel that this is a very good plan, that it was mechanically put together very well. And once approved, it helps put us in line for perhaps some of those funding opportunities, and also helps drive the bus for ourselves in determining priorities and how we want to build onto our park system for those that want to take advantage of those recreation opportunities that we have here in the county.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I also served on the committee, and I want to thank everybody for the effort that they put into it. And again, it was, to steal Paul's words, it was mechanically put together, and the ideas were vetted throughout the committee, which I appreciated. So with that, I'd move to adopt the parks plan.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Nagel and a second by Kruger to consider adopting the McLeod County Parks Plan. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we can now go back to our public hearing on the McLeod County fee schedule. Call on Stefan.
Would you like a motion to open the hearing?
We will need a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Kruger to open the public hearing on the McLeod County fee schedule. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Okay, as Mr. Chair said, we are considering approving the 2024 McLeod County fee schedule. Public hearing to discuss the fee schedule was advertised in the McLeod County Chronicle on November 29th, December 6th, and December 13th, 2023. The board reviewed changes requested by departments at the October 3rd, 2023 workshop. We also covered those at the November 7th workshop. And once approved, the fee schedule would go into effect on January 1st, 2024.
Okay. Questions, anyone? Any particular items?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
just a note, we've seen this in different workshops, so this isn't the first time we're addressing this, obviously. To reiterate what Stefan said, and some adjustments made throughout, and I'm satisfied with it, so I'll move to approve the fee schedule.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'm all right with second it, Mr. Chair, but is there, could you just give a final call for its public hearing if there's any public input?
Correct. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to address the board? Just come to the microphone and ask questions. This is the fee schedule that we'll be following for all of next year.
I'll second it. I'll second the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, we do have a motion by Nagel, second by Kruger to approve the 2024 McLeod County fee schedule. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now need a motion to close our hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Second by Nagel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Quick item, thank you. Moving on to environmental services.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
4 items for your consideration this morning. Item A is to consider approving Resolution 23-CB58 to submit, adopt, and implement the South Fork Crow Watershed Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan. And I would like to read that for the public, if I may.
Go ahead.
So the resolution states, as submitted, adopt, and implement the South Fork Crow River Watershed Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan, whereas McLeod County entered into a planning memorandum of agreement to develop the South Fork Crow River Watershed Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan, and whereas McLeod County has been an active participant on the South Fork Crow River Policy Committee to oversee the development, and whereas the the South Fork Crow River Policy Committee submitted the plan for 60-day formal review on August 14th, 2023, and hosted a public hearing on November 27th, 2023. And whereas all comments received during the 60-day review and public hearing have been addressed by the South Fork Crow River Policy Committee, and whereas the South Fork Crow River Policy Committee recommend approval of the plan to each of the participating boards and councils at their November 27th, 2023 meeting, and whereas McLeod County Minnesota Statute 103B.101 and Subdivision 14 allows a local water management plan developed or amended, approved, and adopted according to Chapter 103B to be replaced with a comprehensive watershed management plan, but only to the geographic area of the plan and consistent with the One Watershed One Plan suggested boundary map. Now therefore be it resolved, McLeod County approves submission of the plan to the Board of Water and Soil Resources, Bowser, contingent on Bowser approval according to Minnesota Statute 103B.801 and board resolutions, that would be Bowser Board Resolutions 21-08 as well as 19-41. McLeod County hereby adopts and will begin implementation of the approved plan for the area of the county identified within the plan. The approved plan will replace the local water management plan for that geographic area of the county within the plan for the duration of the state-approved plan. Be it further resolved, after the adoption of the plan, the county shall amend existing water and related land resources plans and official controls as necessary to conform them to this plan. Be it further resolved, after the adoption of the plan or amendments to the plan, McLeod County shall notify local units of government within the plan area. The local units of government are required to submit existing water and related land resource plans and official controls within 90 days to the county for review as per Minnesota statute section 103B.321. So with that being said, for clarity, McLeod County already participates in the lower Minnesota West, which is the southern part of our county around the High Island Creek. This is for the South Fork, and we also participate in the North Fork Crow River, which is a little bit, about 600 acres of the north area of McLeod County. So McLeod County has already had the requirement to participate in local water management planning. So a county water plan has been present since the 1980s. This is a more efficient model created by the state. And instead of looking at the county as a whole, it takes watersheds into consideration, and it allows for some very, in my opinion, my words, some very needed dollars if local land use concerns are out there and they want to be addressed with projects. It does open up some funding for those projects to be completed if those individuals want to participate in that. So it's not something that's being forced on anybody. My words, again, it is an efficiency model for landowners to potentially get some stuff done for soil erosion, wind erosion, that type of thing.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Mark, just to clarify your last part of the statement, we're mandated to do a water plan,
That is correct.
but we're not mandated to participate in the plan. That's what you were trying to say, because you just said volunteering. I mean,
Meaning landowners. So if you are a producer, you're a farmer that has some issues in regards to erosion problems, and you want to look into those to potentially correct some issues, we could potentially apply for some dollars to help with that. Under our current structure as a water plan, our funding from the state level is limited. So with a one watershed, one plan, it gets in it, what it does is it targets certain criteria. I know Commissioner Kruger, you and Commissioner Wright have both participated on various boards in regards to this. It's a change of how the state has done this in the past, but again, it opens up some revenue stream we didn't have in the past.
I'm actually trying to get somewhere, but
Yeah.
through the back door. But how long have you had a water plan? We've had it for
Yeah, since the 80s. It's been around for 40
But I
plus
mean,
years.
even our county water plan, I mean, this is just, and where I'm trying to go is there's been some confusion on one watershed, one plan, or where this is all going or where it came from. This was quite transparent for as long as I've been a commissioner, and anybody that had interest and input in these plans has had ample opportunity to vent themselves or to actually give their opinions. They may not have liked it all, and I've been at it for a long, long time, but that's the part I wanted to clear. This is nothing new, and it's just been combining. Obviously, it tags to funds. I mean, the SWCDs and the counties have done little projects with minimal funding, and this opens the door to actually different watersheds and different one watershed, one plans to combine their resources and actually get somewhere with their projects with clean water or groundwater or whatever. But
Yeah, and
that's the part I wanted to, I mean, there's such a misunderstanding of what's happening like it's something new. No, it's been, I mean, I've been in it for over 10 years, so.
That is correct, and that's why I tried to get into a little more detail, just for the public, to understand that this is not something new. It's a change of how they've asked us to administer that. Our local water management plan as a county plan had to be approved by the state in the past. We had to submit that, so that's not new. What this does is it targets specific watersheds. It doesn't look at the county as a whole, it looks at individual watersheds and where best management practices. If you have willing landowners that would like to participate in those projects specific, there's potential some increased revenue sources that we could tap to help with those projects. So it's not something that we're coming out and we're forcing that on anybody. You have to be a participant, you have to be a willing participant to receive that money.
Well, good, bad, or indifferent, there's a ton of data accumulated here and beyond what you just told about us today, so.
I also I had the opportunity to chair the multi-county group of the South Fork One Watershed, One Plan committee, and I mean, this is about a 1.5 year long process to get here. Many opportunities through open house and public hearing to gather input, and end of the day, this is we're getting to the last steps to be able to open up some of the Clean Water Funds, state funds, to be able to get to some of those landowners through voluntary projects, and that's a very, very important thing to remember. It's all voluntary that want to work on some of those aspects within the plan.
So where are we? Do we need a
We are
board
ready to
action?
make a motion. I will actually make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Wright, second by Kruger, to adopt Resolution 23 CB 58 to adopt and implement the South Fork Crow River Watershed Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is to consider approving conditional use permit 23-16 for applicant Zach Wakey, Seneca Foods Plant Manager, a fruits and vegetables processing company in Glencoe, Minnesota, to construct a wastewater pond which falls under our mining standards to mine more than 400 cubic yards of material in section 21 and 22 of Glencoe Township. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously approved approval at its November 29th, 2023 meeting with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall meet all state NPDES requirements. Number 2, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. Number 3, pond shall have a 4-to-1 back slope 10 feet below the water line. Number 4, the haul route shall be from US Highway 212 to 95th Street and back to US Highway 212. And number 5, there shall be an establishment of a committee with representation of the county engineer, McLeod County engineer, a Glencoe Township board member, and a Seneca representative. I also took this back to the Glencoe Township board at their meeting Thursday, December 14th. The reason for the change in the process, typically it runs through the township first. We've been working with the township on this item since October, as well as has Seneca. There was some current concerns in regards to road standards, road quality, to ensure that that road didn't get beat up pretty bad, and then they didn't have an opportunity to fix that. So I did take that back to the township at their meeting on December 14th, and they did sign off on that with approval to ratify based on these conditions. So with that being said, Zach is present if there are concerns, as well as Paul Wyman, who I was working with on Seneca's behalf for this request. But all parties are in agreement with what was presented, and we did not have any members of the audience at our public hearing that were opposed to this. So it was vetted very well.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thanks a lot for your hard work, and I appreciate Seneca for actually being here today. So, I mean, they're a valued community business that we appreciate. And with that, I would move to approve permit 2316.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Kruger, second by Schmaltz, to consider approving conditional use permit 2316, applicant Zach Wakey, Seneca Foods Plant Manager. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C is consider approving rezoning application 23-04 for Tom Sherping, GTD Company LLC, Winsted, Minnesota, 55395, to rezone the east 5 acres, which is described as the east 265.55 feet of the west 918.69 feet, lying south of the north 500 feet of the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter, Section 10, Winston Township. This property is owned by GTD. It was priorly owned by a small business owner who had that rezoned highway business. They sold that to GTD. GTD's property is owned I-1, which is light manufacturing. They do manufacture a lot of stainless material for the dairy industry. And so with that being said, they are looking at expanding and potential one more expansion there, which get them close to this property line, thus the need to rezone that and combine that parcel with their current parcel. So down the road, there will be a quitclaim deed that more than likely will be filed on their behalf. So with that being said, the Winston Town Board unanimously recommended approval at their November 9th, 2023 meeting, and the McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its November 29th, 2023 meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I will move request for application 23-04.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Schmal, second by Kruger to consider approving the rezoning application 23-04 for Tom Chirping. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D is to consider tabling conditional use permit 23-14 submitted by property owner Kevin Anvik, Chanhassen, Minnesota, requesting an accessory building picnic shelter for personal use only on a parcel without a primary structure that is greater than 660 feet from his primary residence until January 2nd, 2024. The 29.29 acre parcel is located in that part of the west half of the southeast quarter and part of the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter south of the Crow River in section 9 of Bergen Township. Mr. Anvik was present. Mr. Anvik was absent when his application was heard at the Planning Commission on October 25th, 2023. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to table this request to the November 29th, 2023 meeting to allow Mr. Anvik to answer some questions that the public had at that first public hearing on October 25th. On November 29th, 2023, the item was denied by the Planning Commission due to the applicant's absence. Since then, Mr. Anvik has since contacted the Planning and Zoning Office indicating he will attend the December 13th, 2023 Bergen Township regular meeting. We, the Planning and Zoning Office, ask that the County Board of Commissioners table CUP 23-14 until January 2nd, 2024 and send it back to the Planning Commission hearing scheduled on December 27th, 2023 to be heard as Mr. Anvik will be present. An indefinite waiver was signed and submitted back to our office and is on file for review. The indefinite waiver is for State Statute 1599. Thus, that requires us to render a decision back to him, the applicant, within 90 days. We have the right to create a 60-day waiver from that original, excuse me, I should have said 60 days. We have the right to extend it from 60 days to 120 days. And we did that after his first absence. But we couldn't extend it any further, which is why the Planning Commission recommended that denial. And then we did notify him that this would be coming to the board today with a recommendation for to deny from the Planning Commission. And Mr. Anvik has agreed to participate in those upcoming hearings. We did re-notify all the landowners, so thus the request to table this till your board meeting on the 2nd so we can run it through our normal process.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
And Mark, thanks for your diligence in following up with this permit. I also appreciate the intention of the Planning and Zoning Board to take a good look at the application versus, denying it right off the bat. So with that said, I will approve the request as presented.
Okay, that is the motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Schmal, second by Nagel to table conditional use permit 2314. There is no discussion on a motion to table, so we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Auditor Treasurer, I believe our administrator will be covering that.
Thank you. Item A, notification to the county board per Minnesota statutes, section 469.175, Subdivision 2 of the City of Winsted proposal for a new housing district in the city and establishment of tax increment financing District 2-9. The draft tax increment financing plan was included in the board's packet. The proposal notes that Winstead Leased Housing LLC is planning to construct 65 rental housing units in 2 phases on property included in the district. The project will initially focus on meeting the demand for rental housing within the community, and the City of Winstead intends to also promote additional housing on the remaining lots within this district. The City of Winstead held a public hearing on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, to receive public comment on the proposed district, and it approved tax increment financing District 2-9. Comments or questions may be directed to Neil Schlagel, City of Winstead Administrator, by calling 320-485-2366. Thank you.
Okay, and that is a notification, so there's not any action items needed. Thank you for that. Our next item up will be Health and Human Services.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have 3 items for you today. Item A, consider approving the contract renewal with services with Richard Decker for adult mental clinical supervision for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, at a rate of $174 per hour, not to exceed 60 hours, or the equivalent of $10,440, with funds from the Individual and Family Services budget. State statute requires clinical supervision and signed care plans for adult mental health case managers in order to provide services and bill medical assistance and managed care plans for services provided. This is a 3% increase to the hourly rate from our current 2023 contract.
Questions, anyone?
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Looking for a second? I can second that. We have a motion by Nagel, second by Wright, to consider approving the contract renewal with Richard Decker for adult mental health clinical supervision. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item B, consider approving the contract renewal for services with Ashley Hubble for children's mental health clinical supervision for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, at a rate of $150 per hour, not to exceed 60 hours, or $9,000, with funds from the individual, and family services budget. State statute requires clinical supervision and signed care plans for children's mental health case managers in order to provide services and bill medical assistance and our managed health care plans for services provided. This too is a 3% increase from our current 2023 contracted rate.
Okay, questions, anyone?
Move request, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Schmal, second by Kruger, to consider approving the contract renewal for services with Ashley Hubble for children's mental health clinical supervision. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My final item, item C, consider approving the 2024 shared services agreement with the Southwest Minnesota Adult Mental Health Consortium, often referred to as the Southwest 18, for 2 full-time equivalent regional housing specialist positions for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, with funds from the Individual and Family Social Services budget. This is a contract renewal, and as previous years, the Southwest 18 will reimburse McLeod County 5% of the salary and benefits for the administrative cost.
Okay, questions, anyone?
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second. We have a motion by Kruger, second by Nagel, to consider approving the 2024 Shared Services Agreement with Southwestern Minnesota Adult Mental Health Consortium. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I mean, I notice a reluctancy to go through these things, but it's more for transparency than anything. I mean, most of this stuff is, as stated in some of your previous items, we have to do this, and I do appreciate it being brought to the board. I mean, for sake of transparency.
Very good. Any further discussion? We'll then proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barrett. Next up will be information technology. Mr. Droska.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to request consider approving a state contract quote from CPS Technologies of Hamel, Minnesota for a new IBM I System Power 10 at a cost of $48,585.59 with funds from the information technology budget. The IBM I system runs a number of applications used by Finance Department and Social Services. These applications have either not been migrated to other platforms or there are currently no options available for migration. In the past several years, a number of applications have been migrated off of the IBM I system, and the replacement of this system was delayed in hopes that it would not be needed to be replaced. Due to several applications not having other options available and the condition of the current IBM I system, there's a need to move forward with this replacement. This was planned for 2024, however, IBM has announced a 14% price increase starting January 21st, 2024. So placing an order in 2023 will avoid the price increase. A hosted system option is available for $3,308 per month, or roughly $40,000 per year, plus a one-time setup fee of $2,900. It is expected to be more than a year before all remaining applications are migrated from the IBM I system.
Okay, any questions for Matt at all?
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Kruger, to consider approving the state contract quote from CPS Technologies at a cost of $48,585.59. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to county administration, we'll begin with a report on our committee meetings. Mr. Nagel?
Yes, after our last board meeting, we had no workshop, but we did have the truth and taxation hearing. In my opinion, it was well attended. The audience was polite and professional. While all questions are appropriate, they asked them in appropriate ways, and staff was able to help educate them, help them if there were some mistakes, and clarification if needed. Over the last 2 weeks, lots of research on personally for me, on the True County question that we'll see here in just a few minutes. I had those with constituents, elected officials, both city and townships, and then also dealing with some ditch issues on the north end of Hutchinson. It's unfortunate with the weather. I think we should be further ahead in that project, but it seems like we're being harshly said, held hostage by some of the engineers' reports not getting done. So that's something we'll have to address in the future regarding using them as a vendor. I think they're good, but just the response in this particular project's been a little bit disappointing. So that's all I have.
Okay. Finish up our last board meeting, truth and taxation. Landowner meeting with a ditch system in my district, judicial ditch number 1. It comes out of Renville County. It's a very substantial watershed area to the west, but does come in and enter the Crow River right southwest of Hutchinson, and we are doing a clean out on that stretch, and so getting the landowners kind of in line for what to expect when the excavator begins. And at first, when we set this up, we thought we were kind of at risk for when winter was going to set in, but we're taking advantage of this delay before snow starts to fall. I did have some conversations about one of our agenda items here today that will be up and coming with dealing with our assessment system. I also had an extension committee meeting. We did reviews of all of our extension staff and went very well. Fairgrounds Commission last week, of course, we do have it out, bid documents out for our potential new building. Talked about some repairs, and a couple days after that, we did, actually, no, it was that day, the children's barnyard was lifted up in the air and brought to its new home in the infield. So things definitely moving at our county fairgrounds. Brings me up to today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since our last meeting on the 4th, December 4th, I attended the SWCD meeting, the board meeting here, and it's held here in the government center. And again, that is another chance for people to get up to speed on one watershed, one plan, all the water management plans. It's very public. It's posted. These meetings are every week or every month. The people that serve on SWCD are elected officials, elected by the people they serve, which is McLeod County, different districts. So you're going to hear me say this frequently, that there's every opportunity to be brought up to speed on these water plans, or get your pros and cons into these plans. On the 5th, I had Mid-Minnesota Development Corporation or committee, which I serve on. I had ATP 8, which is through Mid-Minnesota, which is transportation for District 8, and I also attended that on the 8th. On the 14th, I had the Drainage Work Group. Again, it's a group advisory to the legislature, and I don't want to say we're at an impasse, but we're working hard to try to get some recommendations to the 24 legislative session. That brings us to today.
Thanks, Commissioner Kruger, for your report. Going back to Thursday, the 7th of December, like what was mentioned, we held a board meeting here, and afterwards a Truth and Taxation meeting that evening. And then this past week on the 12th, helped a resident in Hale Township with a question he had regarding government procedures. On Thursday the 14th, I participated in a Prime West Joint Powers Board meeting by Zoom. And on the 15th, I had a meeting with a county attorney over some county issues that are being discussed at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, still on sick leave, but I did attend a meeting last Friday, the 8th, on the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. They ended up giving the administrator, she's on leave of absence for pending an investigation of the organization. So it's kind of shocking. There's 12 commissioners there, and nobody knew about it till that morning. Thank you.
Okay. Attorney's office.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for those that noted, I was not in attendance at the last board meeting. I was at the Minnesota County Attorneys Association annual meeting from December 6th through 8th. So there's hundreds of county attorney and assistant county attorneys that attend that annual meeting. There's continuing legal education credits, but also an opportunity to get briefed on updates in the law and the like. One of our assistant county attorneys, Aaron Jordan, was also recognized with the Distinguished Service Award, so I was able to attend and watch him be presented with that. His wife was also able to attend, so that was quite nice. So thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Just a request, if it's possible, is there a way, Ryan, that you can just check into that information that Commissioner Luthen just gave on Southwest Jobs and Training? So, because I mean, we're a participant there, and I'd just kind of like to hear whatever is publicly available.
I'd be happy to. I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to our administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A, I'm going to have Colleen Robeck come up to the podium and she'll go over that. Do you want me to read the item or do you have it in front of you, Colleen?
No, I am just going to go ahead and ask for consideration of approving the 2024 final McLeod County property tax levy and budget. The preliminary levy was set at $28,701,009 and it was approved at the board on September 19th, 2023. This reflected a 5% increase over the 2023 tax levy. And as discussed at the Truth and Taxation meeting on December 7th, 2023, this increase is necessary to balance the general fund budget. I'm not going to go into more detail on this because we've done that already on September and December meetings.
Just a note from Budget Committee, and typically when we set our preliminary in September, there's always hopes of being able to take a fair shot underneath that when we come here to December, but I think we're pretty well locked in with that 5%.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
if I may add to that, I appreciate how we do that here. We're in September, we're open and honest about our number and where we're thinking we're going to be. We don't say 10 and then go to 5 and pat ourselves on the back when we don't deserve it. So while we'd all like that number to come in, and there was efforts to make that happen, the transparency in September is appreciated, at least by me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Questions, comments? Go ahead.
I'm on budget as well, and it's the right thing to do on the 5%. I mean, I could argue other ways, but we've looked in the past, and where we were flat in years got us into some trouble, and just by some of the business that we've been handling for the last few weeks and months with health insurance, regular insurance, wages, retention. We worked hard at trying to hold it down, and we have an excellent accounting department that's give us some options. So with that, I'd move to approve the 5% levy increase.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Kruger, second by Nagel, to consider approving the 2024 levy at $28,701,009. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I'll continue with our reserves, or our books are healthy. With this 5%, I'm optimistically cautious on holding them where they are, because I think next year is going to be a whole new discussion. But for now, I'm pretty proud of how we stand here in McLeod County.
Yes, this will keep us within our budget, what we're required by the state to have in reserves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item.
Thank you. Item B, consider adopting Resolution 23-CB-56, True County Assessing. Mr. Chair, the presentation is on the screen.
Yep. Okay. Go through that, please.
You would like me to go through it?
Yes, if you could.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. One moment, I just want to pull it up right in front of me. We just compiled a short presentation to assure that we're sharing the information about what a change from doing local assessing to going to true county assessing would mean. So a final review on that today. Some points of information. Changing to true county assessing would eliminate the practice of local assessing in our county. Currently, 9 of our 23 municipalities or districts utilize local assessing, and they're listed here, and that's Collins Township, Hassan Valley Township, Hutchinson Township, Penn, Rich Valley, and Round Grove Townships, the cities of Silver Lake and Stewart, and also Sumter Township. And I'm not sure why it's looking like that on the screen, I'm sorry. Okay. So the county board today is reviewing the resolution that if approved, it would change the county assessor's office to being responsible to assess all of the taxable property in all 23 taxing districts. So we have 14 townships and 9 cities. Currently, we're, like I said, a local assessing county, which means that the districts have the choice whether they want to hire their own assessor or they participate in county assessing services. The majority, which is 14 of the 23, contract with our county for assessing services, and with this change, those contracts would no longer be needed, and all districts would be serviced by the McLeod County Assessor's Office. If the county board approves the resolution, that change in assessing would become effective in 2025. This option has been reviewed at several meetings recently by the County Board of Commissioners. Any county in Minnesota can elect to have all county taxable property assessed by their county office. It's covered under Minnesota Statute 273.055, which is resolution to appoint assessor, termination of local assessor's office. If a resolution is passed under that statute, it is effective at the second assessment date following adoption of the resolution. If the change is effective, then the county is also authorized to appropriate sufficient funds to cover the expense of making a proper assessment of all property parcels. That's a lot of P's. The county board can authorize the assessor to employ additional relevant staff or time to perform the duties of office. Currently, 77.1% of the parcels in McLeod County are handled by the assessor's office, with 22.9% being handled by local or private assessors. If passed, the resolution is effective at the second assessment date like we noted. The office of all local assessors at those districts, the 9, would then be terminated 90 days prior to the new assessment date, which the elected change to True County becomes effective. The local assessors would turn over all relevant property records a minimum of 90 days prior to that date, and I'll show you a timeline at the end of this. If the county board passed a resolution today to move to True County assessing, that change would become effective on January 1st, 2025. If it's passed, all documents from those local assessors would be transferred to the assessor's office by October 1st of 2024. And if it's passed, local taxing districts in McLeod County would no longer pay the assessment and maintenance fees to the county, and they would no longer pay local assessor costs. The county levy pays the majority of property assessment costs today. The fees extended to the individual districts, they do not cover the total cost of the department services. The county's expense per parcel, it's $27.96 today. And then the county charges a $3 parcel maintenance fee and a $7.50 parcel assessment fee. So in terms of parcel values, the county levy already covers 62.5% of the internal costs. The impacts of the county budget for removing those assessment and maintenance fees would reduce it about 0.32% of the annual budgeted revenue. The impact to the budget for adding an additional assessor to the staff would affect about 0.15% of annual budgeted expenditures. Currently, there's 3 local assessors that each perform tasks for those districts. They each have several. They're responsible for the assessment of parcels, and they must enter the information into the system at the McLeod County assessing offices. 2 of those local assessors are current McLeod County staff that work in the assessor's office. 1 external individual is employed and performs tasks for 3 townships in McLeod County, and she is here today, if you have any questions for her. Local taxing district impacts. So local taxing districts maintain the authority of their local board of reviews or appeal and equalization, if this were to happen. The open book review processes are maintained by the local districts. The Department of Revenue responsibilities and oversight do not change. Assessing and maintenance fees would no longer appear on the McLeod County fee schedule, which Stefan Wiblemo had approved earlier with the board. And local taxing districts would no longer have to do an annual contract with the McLeod County Assessor's Office. There's 34 counties in Minnesota out of the 87 that currently do true county assessing, and they're listed here. This will be included in the updated minutes and packet. We heard from Candy, Ojai County a couple of meetings ago regarding their change in 2023. And then here's a short timeline. Today, the county board votes on the resolution to consider changing to true county assessing. If this resolution is passed, then on 10/1/2024, all local assessors would have to transfer relevant property records to the McLeod County Assessor's Office by that date. And then if the resolution is passed, on 1/1/2025, all property tax assessments for property in McLeod County would be performed by the Assessor's Office as of that date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. We're now up to questions, comments, or action item.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I guess I'll start out. I'm not going to give a full reasoning here, but I think everybody does know that I've been in favor of the true county process. It seems like anytime there's questions, the commissioners are the ones that have to field them first anyhow, and the accountability and responsibility of trying to make sure it's right, and that is our ultimate goal, to make sure that we have a good auditing system and get them done correctly. But I guess I'm going to listen to some of the other comments, pro or con, but I do have a couple more comments that I will give as time goes on.
Okay. I can follow Mr. Kruger on that. I've been a supporter of this as well. We've definitely had this around for quite a while to talk about it. We ran it through pretty hard on numbers. And some of the points that I feel are definitely worth more than others to me. When we look at how we put together our government center, we put our departments together so that there can be conversation between those that work in that department, whether it's the ability to have a quick department meeting or discussion with colleagues in that area, a place to answer questions quickly. And I think being able to access, this function of the county with a group of people that works alongside each other every day is very important. A big one again for me is the fee schedule. It's we've gone back and forth with where do we set those numbers over the years. There's been a little bit of pushback on where they should be, and this just completely removes it from the fee schedule. When we adopt this statute, you no longer can put any billings out by parcel. It has to be a part of the levy, and I think at this point, being able to just remove this entire topic from the fee schedule is also a strength of the topic. We see that we're already internally having to absorb the majority of the costs of the assessing functions of the county, and so instead of trying to figure out where to put that line, is it half, is it 75%, or we're just going to take it all and be able to find the most efficient means of being able to find those proper values as we plug it into our tax system here. I have tried to have a few visits over the past couple weeks with different individuals, and I've heard anywhere from no to all the way to yes. Sounds like a great idea, with the caveat, as long as you maintain some quality staff that can do the visits. And I think that is on the board and the department and everybody, to make sure that we are hiring and having quality staff out there doing all of the functions that are required. I see this as being a positive. There is one takeaway, and it needs to be acknowledged, that taxing districts no longer can appoint their person. either by county or by private to do the work. But I feel that our advantages here far outweigh that. So I'll stop there, but I'm in support. Any other discussions? Please state your name.
Robin Johnson, local assessor. I have a question for you guys as far as when we turn over our property records. Does that mean that the county is going to finish out the 2024 assessment if you want us to hand the records over on October 1st? Because we don't get the numbers. Well, I just got my numbers today for this next assessment year. So to be able to value those properties for the end of this assessment year, if you want us to hand our records over on October 1st, we would be unable to finish the 2024 assessment.
Mr. Chair?
Or, sorry, 2025 assessment.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
That's a statutory requirement with the change, so it would have to be negotiated. It's just, I think, to protect that the information is provided, but I don't know if our county attorney wants to make any note there. However, I don't believe it's to be limiting. It's just if the change was made, that's what the statutory requirement is for the timeline.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying
But
is,
not that they want, is all I'm saying, Robin. So it's
Right.
not, they didn't make the decision on that date. I'm just showing them where it lands, so it would need to be discussed.
okay.
Thank you.
Just to get in a proper form of discussion, we really should have a motion on the table. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Wright, a second by Kruger to approve the resolution, which really by protocol is the right way to get into discussion, although we've already let out with some, excuse me, I think the sore throat thing is going around these days. But any other discussion on the motion? This is, I think, a very significant topic and an important one as well.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In full transparency, I've had trouble, this is me, that our own staff is working outside our office to do the same job they do in our office. And that's my issue, but I think it's a conflict of interest. And when I've talked to other counties that have went through county, a couple of them have told me the reason they were asked by their townships to help them out because there wasn't adequate amount of assessors to do the work for the townships. So that's how that came that way. And if that were to happen here, if our own assessors weren't out, I don't care if they work on the side, if everybody should have the right to go out and make some extra money, but I just don't think they should be doing it in the county they work for. And that's I've held back saying that, but it's bothered me since I came in to being a commissioner. I just didn't feel it was the right thing to do. And the second comment I have, I just don't want to get people misled that it's going to save us money. I can't actually say that because we're going to have to retain good staff and to get I hate to call it a product, but to get accurate numbers, which is the most important part, because no township or city or county for that matter does the rules. The assessing comes from the state. And again, I could go on and on about the process of assessing. Art, we got hit a little bit because our assessor held some values down, which to me is prudent, but then they came in and said it wasn't good enough, so we get tagged. Other than that, I guess everything's been stated that I can think of. So I'll just go with that. But the main thing is the shortage of assessors in other counties triggered them to go through county, and if we were to change our policy, I would guess that we'd probably have the same thing here. And in full honesty, if you want to go private contractors with the whole 9 yards and have our assessor lead them, that's a big bite to take out of the pie, though. I looked at it, and I've talked to some other employees with everything that's going on now with wages and healthcare. You know, the private contractors is an option. I'm not ready for that one, so here we are.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I've spent a few weeks trying to digest what True County can mean for McLeod County, and I've tried to make my own assessment of where I should be on this issue. I don't doubt that someday McLeod will be a true county. But today, I'm not fully on board with being in favor of the resolution. And I base that on a couple points that I've jotted down. And my first point is past practice. We've had a system in place for probably decades. And although it sounds like it's not perfect, it has been working. If there are added costs running under the system we currently operate under, then my feeling is those costs should be directed back to the entities that are causing the extra costs. And then another point I came up with is, how do I negatively affect the least amount of people? And again, it kind of states where I'm at with this resolution. I feel I'll have the least negative effect on people. And we heard concerns about local governments feeling like they're not being able to express control with their governments if we go True County. And I'm sensitive to that as well. And then my last point would be, I kind of look at this as an expansion of county government. I mean, it was stated that we'd be adding at least a full-time position to carry out the True County. The position would require a benefits package, and we'd be replacing 1099 employees that are being employed by local governments. So that kind of backs up my point. I hope that gives the public some reasoning on why I'm not ready to go along with the resolution as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I appreciate Commissioner Smalls, your comments, and they're well taken. But there's a couple things that I don't agree with. Just because we've always done it that way doesn't make it right. I mean, it just doesn't make it right. And I could expand on that, but I'm not gonna. And I've had a hard time there. I mean, I'm as constitutional minded as anybody, and I've said it in some of our workshops that the state already pretty much mandates everything we're doing as far as assessing. And it is our job to make sure that's right. In my mind, by getting it under one umbrella, we're doing our job. I'm finding, and I have found, whether it's workload involved or whatever reason, that some properties I don't feel aren't the same. I don't exactly care, and I'm not gonna look into why they're valued at this, but I'd like to have a good feeling that they're all uniform. So I appreciate your comments, but just because we always did it that way doesn't make it right.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote on the motion, and it is to be in favor of Resolution 23 CB 56. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
Okay, we will go with roll call. Nagel?
Based on my conversations, increased accountability and uniformity, I vote aye.
Okay, I will be yes. Kruger?
Aye.
Schmalz?
No.
Luthens?
No.
Motion passes on a 3-2 vote. Thank you for all the work that's put into that. Administration, go on with your notifications.
Item C was a notification of the board workshop if we were having a board meeting on Thursday, December 28th. However, I don't believe that any further business is needed. So we will not be having a county board meeting or a county workshop on Thursday, December 28th, 2023. Item D, notification of board workshop following the county board meeting, will be on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2023, here at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. So our next meeting is on Tuesday, January 2nd. Thank you.
Okay, this is a time for open forum or press relations. Does anyone wish to approach the board? Go ahead. Let's come to the microphone and give us your name and address, please.
I have a handout here. Should I hand it out to all of you?
Go ahead, please. Yes.
Thank you. This microphone?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Do you want to go ahead and give us your handout
Yeah,
and then you can
sure.
begin? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Dan Peterson. Hello, everyone. I'm a resident of Glencoe, 1528 Elliott Avenue North in Glencoe. And I purchased a lot in the county auction, the only lot that was available in the auction from Glencoe. And there were some tax assessments attributed to the property by the city. And they were $18,230, which I knew about, that was listed in the auction. From Public Surplus was the entity first time hired, and I thought it went really well. It was really good. However, upon some study of the matter, I learned that the proceeds from the sale of that auction would go to pay, part of those proceeds would go to pay some of that property tax that was assessed, reassessed by the city of Glencoe. And in the city minutes from Glencoe, Mark Larson stated that $7,670, I believe, Mr. Hanch, is the right amount, that the county had given them a memo or an email stating that would be the amount refunded to the city for those reassessed property taxes. But as it stands now, I understand the county is withholding that money because of a court case, Tyler versus Hennepin County. Maybe you all remember that, where a woman had a condo that was tax forfeited, and she was awarded $25,000, which was in excess of the tax assessments. The tax assessments, it was sold for $40,000. Tax assessments were for $15,000. Those were distributed, and she was awarded $25,000. I don't believe that was a good decision, but it was a decision that was made. But in this case, the Glencoe property has no excess value. There's no excess. If you look at the handout, the first announcement on the 6th of June this year, Hennepin County indicates that a county cannot retain the excess value of property above tax debt. If you go to the next page, on August 3rd, it says that Hennepin County, on the top, Hennepin County's retention of the excess value of her home above her tax debt violated the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment. Farther down in the next paragraph, the Supreme Court held that the plaintiff had plausibly alleged that a retention of the excess proceeds from a tax forfeiture violated the takings clause of the Fifth Amendment. So it's not an apples-to-apples situation.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you listened to our last meeting, so I just want to
did
make a
not.
note real quick, because
Okay.
you're doing a lot here, and that's
Sure.
great. But during my review with our elected official, Connie Kurtzweg, the auditor treasurer,
Yeah.
she noted that the tax forfeit sales were suspended, as in your second sheet here. Counties should consider suspending tax forfeited land sales or escrowing the net proceeds after the county is reimbursed for its costs. I believe that's been done. The transfer of funds, everything's in a holding pattern until everything is complete at the state level. So I just wanted to make sure that you maybe caught that, because it wasn't in a spot during the meeting where it necessarily may have caught your attention.
Sure.
But I went over it during the elected official review, and I'd be happy to connect you with her if that's helpful too. And I know that our county attorney was
Sure.
at the event, at the last meeting. So I just wanted to note and make
Right.
sure that was aware.
Right.
Thank you.
So I think, though, before that, it says county should consider suspending the tax forfeited land sales,
Which we have done.
but it wasn't done.
We did it when we were,
The sale went through. I bought the property.
we suspended them throughout like, we didn't do another one after that first one last year.
Right, but the one I'm referring to is the one that there was a sale.
Okay.
The
I would
money-
have to refer to the attorney on that part, but I believed that from the information I received, it was done timely, so he would need to go over that for you.
Right, so this sale obviously went through, it had been in the works, beginning last year. The Tyler opinion came out in May, so we have no future intentions on proceeding with future sales until we have more guidance in the form of either a legislative fix, which is anticipated, although we'll have to see what the 2024 session brings, or if there'll be additional guidance from the state courts. In addition to the Hennepin, or the Tyler versus Hennepin case, that was a U.S. Supreme Court case, there's currently a class action pending within the state of Minnesota, wherein several counties are named regarding the same issue. So there's not just the federal case, but there's current pending state litigation as well.
But wouldn't the net proceeds be over and above all the tax debt? Net proceeds are after the tax debt is distributed.
So the Tyler case you referenced was primarily concerned with that excess over and above what you've just
Right.
mentioned. But what the Tyler opinion did was it found a substantial portion of statute 28208 unconstitutional. So that's the statute that deals with apportionment of proceeds in general, which includes excess as well as all of the proceeds from the auction, excess and the items below the excess. So right now, given that there's a pending legislative fix or action in the state court, it could address that entire apportionment. Obviously the excess, but also those other portions as well.
But you see, the county had benefited from the sale.
That's where I told you the funds are being held, so it's in that
I know,
holding pattern.
but you see, it's held by the county collecting interest, right? Whereas I am now an injured party because I can't refinance the property, I can't sell the property without satisfying all that tax debt. Meanwhile, the county holds the money in a bank account. And I'm not being reimbursed interest-wise, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying that the Tyler Hennepin case for a plumber, it's clear, even in the last page, you'll see the issue was the excess beyond the costs. And the costs included expenditures to the city and to the county for taxes that were reassessed.
Which it says escrowing the net proceeds after the county is reimbursed for its costs. But then on the next page that you highlighted, and so this wouldn't occur until after this is done, but the net proceeds may be determined excess, and then after the county's reimbursed, it may need to be paid out to a prior owner. So that won't be known until this is all complete, correct, Ryan?
So, the issue is, given the Tyler finding, one can only assume that the legislature will be enacting a fix in 2024, but we don't know what it is. We know it will likely, if enacted, affect the apportionment of proceeds, but with the uncertainty of if subdivision 4 can no longer exist, it very well could impact the subdivisions prior to 4. And we don't know what those impacts would be. So if we hold it in escrow, we get to wait, we get to see, and we get to apportion it appropriately whenever we receive that guidance. If we don't go that route, the county could be in a position where we somehow have to try to go and recover monies that have been already distributed, which doesn't happen. So that's the issue. I mean, the escrow isn't necessarily, I mean, I don't know that anyone wants to be in the posture that we're in. I mean, the forfeiture, the tax forfeiture laws have been in place since the 1930s. This wasn't expected, I mean, this wasn't.
And they're all an excellent law. If you study the case, she didn't pay her mortgage, she didn't pay her association dues, and she still was awarded the money. Because the Hennepin County did not make the case that she failed to make those payments. So my point is, and forgive me for taking so much time, it does say in the note on the bottom of 282.02, in excess of the tax debt. There is no owner making any claims to any money from the sale of the property because the property sold for $7,900 and the tax debt reassessed by the city was $18,000. So I guess in my view, the county has no right to hold that money. They need to distribute that money to where they need to distribute it as per the law.
Have you spoken with the auditor treasurer?
I have, but
Okay.
she keeps telling me to go talk to the. And,
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, I think.
She's not in here today, but.
Yeah, I noticed
Thank
that.
you.
But I just, as a citizen of McLeod County, I just feel that it doesn't seem to be right, this whole scenario, and saying that we're waiting for legislation where the legislation really has to do with excess over and above the tax debt that was paid.
Well, I mean, it's the waiting for legislation, it's the pending state level class actions that directly address this issue. And I mean, it's not uncommon when it's anticipated that future litigation might affect an ongoing situation, that you hold it in escrow. It's of the not so great options, a lot of times it's the least bad option, because at least then that money is there until there is no question of where not to go. Now, regarding the assessments itself, I'm sure what you've been told when you've talked with our auditor treasurer is, I mean, the city is the municipality that levels those assessments, and they certify them to the county. And I'm sure you know all of it, but they certify them to the county. We record those and we put them on the tax roll. So, I mean, to the extent, if there's something that can be done between yourself and the city, that would adjust. And I think you were on the city agenda for yesterday.
I was.
Into 10, so I don't know, I don't believe we have an updated assessment, but if there were to be some kind of agreement reached there, we would certainly account for that yet within this year, but I don't know if that's likely.
I notice what little I know about law, having studied this topic, there's not a lot of clarity. And I'm hoping that the county attorneys from the state could say, you know what, we need to have more clarity as to the protocols required, because you're dealing with people's money, and when people can't access or take full advantage of the ownership of the property they have, sell it, refinance it, develop because of snags, that should all be cleaned up. Don't you agree? I mean, that should be really.
We certainly need additional clarity in this area, particularly after the Tyler versus Hennepin decision. I would agree with that.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
This isn't on the agenda, so it's kind of hard, but I do have one question that bothers me. I'd like to put myself in the shoes of the person that's talking to me now. The only thing here, I mean, I understand a lot of these parts, except if I bought something on an auction and I couldn't get a clear title, I want my money back.
Well, I think there you primarily look to the city and how that property was listed, but I mean, assessments owed there's language there about the property being subject to assessments and the amount of those assessments. And I mean, I don't know the specific language of that listing, but typically on tax forfeited property, it's essentially a buyer beware scenario, and it's tough. I mean, I don't,
Absolutely.
it's hard.
I'm with you, and I'm not actually asking for a legal opinion, but that would bother me if I went into this. I mean, nobody's disputing the numbers really. I mean, it was bought and it can be cleared up. The part that whosever fault it is that bothers me is to put that property, if I needed money to either keep building or whatever, if I can't do nothing with that property, I mean, I want out. And I don't know if that was written, I guess, for our own protection when we run the sale. And these sales are important. What are we supposed to do with the tax forfeited land? And I've heard some of these arguments at like Minnesota rural counties. I mean, we aren't the only county having these issues. But was that stated that you may not get a clear title for, you know, the legislature could go on and on for a year?
Well, I mean, the clear title dependent on paying the assessments.
Yes.
I mean, and those assessments aren't assessments that the county's setting. I
Right.
mean, again, and that's why Mr. Peterson gets referred to the city, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But, I mean, so it's not that there can't be clear title, it's that the assessments need to be paid, and then it's a
Okay.
dispute about
Well, that's the question.
what should the value be, you know, when are they due in light of this uncertainty? There's all sorts of those questions and issues that could be asked and addressed, but most of those would be best addressed to the Glencoe City Council, and probably in large part already have been. But yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. There is one statute that I found that seems to be kind of a common idea, that the city can only reassess the amount of the assessment at the date of cancellation. They can't add anything to that. They can't, in other words, no future assessments. That's a whole nother topic. I don't want to take any more time, but it's really, it's not really up to the city at this point because the sale has happened. It was, you know, there are no assessments for old assessments after the sale, as far as what I read from the statutes. So, I mean, I'm contending them on the 18,000, and so that's a whole nother topic. Forgive me for bringing it up, but I guess I'll just wait and see what happens.
Well, I appreciate your information today and bringing it up.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, if there's something to do in the future, you can certainly reach out to my office.
Thank you. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Anyone else that's here today wish to approach the board? Okay, then we will be looking for a motion to recess. So we're agreeing that we do not have any need for the December 28th meeting. Is that correct? Okay. So we'll be looking for a motion to recess until January 2nd. We have a motion by Nagel. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Nagel, second by Kruger, to recess until our next county board meeting, 9 a.m. Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, the McLeod County Government Center. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. We do have a brief workshop item, so we'll give a few minute break. We'll get reset for that.